Hello, good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Sorry for it took to be able to come live. I was having some issues with the. So let's just wait a couple of minutes for more people to join. Then, sorry, is my voice echoing? Someone should tell me on the chat if it's echoing there. Hello, can anyone hear me? My name is Bright Okereke. Let me do a brief introduction. I started real estate around 8 years ago. So I started off as a student, help, helping other students get accommodation. And over the past 8 years, I've moved from agents to help students get accommodation to becoming a developer where I build properties and help people manage them too. Okay, great. The echo has stopped. Are there people? Sorry, if you're live, can you send a chat? Just say hello so I know that people are live and you can hear me. Just say hello in the chat bar. Okay, great. I can see some signs. Okay, great. So over the past couple of years, I have done so many types of real estate deals. Let me give you some brief example of the kind of deals I've done. I started off as an agent for hostel, then I helped people get accommodation. So I did small apartment letting. Then I helped some people manage some properties. I became a property manager for a while. Then after that, started renovating properties. So got some properties renovated. Then I also leased some buildings too. So I had some properties on lease that I used to do hostel that I was managing. So I was making some money from that. Then I still wanted more. Then I saw a path to becoming a developer. And I started my first project in Yaba. And there we built a property for 22-year lease. So got the property on 22-year lease, built it, sold to people, and helped them to manage it. And since then, things have significantly improved, and we've done more than 20 houses. So this particular training is to share some of my experience as an insider in the industry, as a real estate developer. What do I know? What are things that other people might not know about real estate that will be worth sharing? So I want to start today's training by asking questions. I want to start with questions. I want people to ask common questions that they've had around real estate. This is also going to help us formulate better topics to discuss because today we are discussing how you can retire using real estate. So, how do you design your retirement plan around real estate and what kind of properties you need to buy if you are looking at retirement? So, I want to start by asking questions. I want people to just ask questions. What are the major questions you have around real estate so that I can help you answer those questions before we go into what we have for today? So if you want to ask those questions, you can send message to the chat because on YouTube you can. I don't think you can talk back, so you can send a message. You can type it out. You can type it out on the chat so that we can. I can see the questions you want to ask. Mm-mm-mm. I'll just wait for a minute so people can type in their questions. Okay. So yeah, if you have questions around real estate, you can send it so I can answer questions first before we start today's talk. So I'm waiting for people to send in their questions. So you have any question about real estate whatsoever, you can send it in so we can answer. Interesting. What kind of real estate development can one do in semi-city center like Agege? So I think for a location like that, the question will be around what properties are in demand for buyers. So you have to look at, do you have money to build to rent, where you have a lot of capital, you don't mind just building and renting it out, or are you looking for people to buy? Now, if you want to now decide what you want to buy, you look at the current listings, what properties are currently listed. Then you can also do testing, put out ads for different kinds of properties and see which one did you get the most inquiry on. Because you don't just want expert opinion, you want customers' opinion. The best thing you can do for a business is to set up a business in a way where you are doing and producing what people want. So that way you don't have to spend most of your time trying to market it. So you can run an experiment of showing different kinds of houses, running ads on them or putting them on platform like Nigerian Property Center. So when you do that, you see which of the properties gets the most attention. Now that's what you go and develop. So at least you've tested the market and the market has validated that they have interest in this kind of property. So that's the best way to find out what kind of properties will work in Agege. So let's go into it. So one of the things that I want to first share with you is, why should you use real estate to build and invest a retirement portfolio? And over the years, one thing has become very evident is that real estate is a lot more stable than other investments. So a lot of times, if you work hard for your money, you want to put your money in things that will not disappear tomorrow. Things like real estate. Because one thing is sure in things like stock market, regardless of where the share price is today, there's one certainty. The share price will eventually become zero sooner or later. Because the future of every business is to end. One day it will happen. Some business last 200 years, some last 400 years. Same thing real estate, but real estate most times would outlast most businesses. Any businesses they do well, but real estate most likely outlast them. Then you also have other investment schemes that are really good, but the issue now is risk versus reward. Because most people would not like to put their money into riskier asset class, and real estate has a lot more stability for you to build your retirement plan around. Now, the first thing you have to look at if you're trying to use real estate to build a retirement portfolio is you. So it has to start with you. Things like, what's your income like? How much are you making? How much do you need for retirement? And when we ask this question, how much do you need for retirement, we're looking at how much are you going to be spending yearly when you retire. So you have to think of a reasonable number and then work towards building a portfolio where you are able to make that money on a yearly basis. For a good number, you look at 20% above the actual amount you need. So you design your portfolio that you're making up to 20%. If you really have money to start, you can do up to 50% of what your current what the money you are expecting. So for instance, if I say when I retire, I'll need 50 million a year. So I can go and say, okay, I need to buy properties so that the properties can be paying me 70 million every year. So that way I have the property, I am still getting paid. Yeah, this is very important planning because a lot of people currently they think they bought properties for retirement, but they have not because they buy properties based on sentiment and what their friend says without an actual plan. So a lot of times you see people where when they finally retire, they realize that where they've gone to buy property, they cannot sell it because their entire plan was when I retire, I'll just sell this land or this house or this thing. They now find out that oh, people are not buying properties in that area as high as much as they thought. So it's not about where is property the cheapest. Oh, we have land in my village. The land is like 30 acres. That's where I want to invest in. That is not necessarily the best approach if you're looking at retirement, because retirement is a time period where you will not be able to work. So you have to make sure that you are sure in what you are doing so you don't get there and find out. Because especially when you're investing in real estate. So a lot of people that have invested in real estate is when they get there, they find out. So when they eventually need the real estate to do something for them, that's when they find out that they bought the wrong property, or they bought the wrong asset, or they bought the wrong location, or they bought the wrong thing. So it has to first start with you. You have to ask yourself, how much do I need and how much do I have? What's my income like over the next couple of years? And how long do I have? So you know, okay, I'm looking to retire at this age. I'm looking to retire at this other age. I'm looking to retire at another age. So you have to actually write it down and plan around it. So you know, okay, I need XYZ money within the next XYZ amount of time using my current income of 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have to have those three numbers because those three numbers are what will inform you in how best to go about it. Now, when it comes to real estate and investing for retirement, one of the most important thing you have to look at is cash flow. Cash flow is how much is this property giving you on a yearly basis? What is the cash flow like on that property? Now, why cash flow is important in retirement is you don't want to bank on being able to sell the properties, because one is selling is a lot more complicated than it seems. So if you don't buy in like really high volume areas, you might have that property for way too long and to not sell. And then another issue, the main issue that I've noticed with buying properties to sell is if you're already retired, right? All you have to do is now spend this money. So if let's say you sell the property for 200 million, now you have 200 million in the bank. Money has this thing where it's almost like when there's money in your bank, everybody now knows about it and everything knows about it. It always beckons the money. All of a sudden, that's when your child will need this urgent 10 million to fly abroad for medical care. That's that your friend that is old too is about to lose one of his leg if he does not raise 5 million. And little by little, small by small, that money will finish. And you don't want to be in that place. And even if you do have self-discipline to say, okay, once that money is in my bank account, I'm not going to touch it. Now, there's still the danger of the money being in your bank account because it means it's going to be subject to inflation. So, for instance, if you retired around 2020 and you had, let's say, 200 million in the bank, between 2020 and now, the value of that 200 million would have reduced to at least 70 million. The 200 million would have gone divided by three because of devaluation. Money devalues because of inflation, especially in countries like Nigeria. So you have to make sure that your plan is inflation proof. Very important. Your plan has to be inflation proof. That is why you do not rely on property based on you can sell it, especially for retirement. Because even if you sell it and you get that bulk money into your bank, it is still prone to inflation. There are a lot of people complaining now about their pension benefits, how the money being paid to them is not worth much anymore. So while they were working, maybe they were making 500K a month, and their pension benefits supposed to be 250K a month or 300K a month. Now they are collecting the 300K a month, and it's not the same as the 500K a month when they were working 6 years ago, or the 300K a month 6 years ago. It has lost value. 300K 6 years ago is probably like maybe 80K now. Probably will buy the same thing 80K will buy. So you have to make sure that whatever you're doing for retirement is inflation proof. This is why buying properties to sell for retirement might not be the best route, might not be the best option. So you have to look at getting properties that make you money, pay you rent. Now, the thing with this particular illustration is there are challenges to it. So it's not as straightforward as it sounds. So when it comes to buying properties that will pay you rent, most times people build houses for yearly rental. Now, over the years, that has increasingly become not as profitable. I was reading Otedora's book, Making It Big. I think that's the name, yeah. And he was talking about how he was very, very invested in real estate a couple of years ago. I had a lot of properties in Ikoyi, VI. But over time, because then he said the way he does it, he builds, collect rent for a couple of years, choose the money, take it back, and build again, continue like that, which was a very, very good strategy, even as recent as 2018, 2019. That strategy was still working. Then you could build a house and still make your money back within your first 10 years. But over time, construction costs has significantly risen to a point where if you are doing yearly rental for the house that you have, you would take maybe 20, 30 years. Even in city centers like VI, Ikoyi, Yaba, Surulere, it will still take you up to 20 years to be able to make back the money you spent. That's if the place is really that good. Most cases it might take you 25, 30 years. It's one of the reasons why most of the apartments now being built are built for short stay rental, monthly rental, and whatnot. And it comes with risk. It comes with risk of management risk because managing those properties are not as easy. So what what currently works is making sure that before you go into rental properties, you have a solid management team because you need to have somebody managing it for you, somebody solid or a solid company managing the property for you. If not, you would have issues where collecting rent is a serious challenge. So generally, it's always best you buy apartment properties with good management structure that will now pay you the consistent income that you can now get to. So you can sit down and say, okay, what I need is 50 million a year, which is around, or let me use 60 million. This is easy because I don't want to stress myself. So you want 60 million a year, which is around 5 million a month. So you have to make sure you buy enough property to make you that 60 million or that 50 million or whatever the number is to you. Now, one thing I always recommend is buy rental property, diversify your rental income. So it's a strategy that I use personally. So I buy enough property to be making, let's say, 30 million a year or 100 million a year. What I do next is now take that 100 million I make a year and then diversify them into stock, bonds, and other things. So that way I have this safety that is giving me money and my rent, and I'll put it in riskier. Okay, not bonds. Bonds is not that risky. It's not as risky as it's not that risky. So things like you want to invest in companies, you want to invest in stocks, you want to invest in cryptocurrency, and whichever investment vehicle you're looking at. So that's a very, very straightforward strategy that will get you really, really far. Now, where the major concerns are now is finding the right people to do it with, because most people don't have the time or energy to now start finding how do they get on. We did a class about how to vet for developer. I think it's on the page currently. I would try and drop the link for how to do your due diligence. We did a live class on how to do due diligence to know, okay, is this person legit? Is this other person legit? So One thing I would also recommend is if you're going to use real estate as your vehicle for retirement, you need to know a lot about real estate. So, whatever you don't know, you pay the price later. Knowledge cannot be outsourced. So you cannot just have one expert guy you work with that helps you sort out your real estate. You have to make conscious effort to understand the market. And one of the very good way to understand the market is actually investing. So most people that I've met that really know a lot about real estate, they knew it from investing themselves because that's a very good way to understand how it works by being a part of it. Another way is attending trainings like this, reading books, watching videos on YouTube, making sure that you stay updated constantly on what is going on in the industry and how things work. Because if you understand how things work, your chances of losing money will reduce significantly and you'll be able to get better and better results on what you are doing. So yeah, these are the basic information on how to build wealth using real estate. If you have any question, please you can comment in the chat session so I can answer your questions and we'll be able to move forward. And just one last point I want to cover is you have to start small. So don't wait till it's all that. One thing most people do is they wait too long. And if you wait too long, what happens is you miss opportunities that would have made things better. So start small. So if you can save up to 20 million, you can start with either long lease properties or you can start with co-ownership properties. That's the fractional real estate properties where you own a part of the unit. So you can see some for 17 million, you can see some for 20 million, depending. Now, after that, the next financial range, you look at buying studio apartments, one bedroom apartments that are well managed. Then after that, you can now look at so after that, can I look at maybe you want to build your own, or you want to buy a floor, or you want to set up something, maybe a full building just for you, depending on how much you're trying to get to. So you have to also be really careful who you work with on it. Make sure that people you are buying from are genuine and they have good track record. So the most important thing for you to check is usually track record. When you check track record, they have good track record, you are good to go. So that's it for today. Please, if you have questions, you can drop your question in the chat so that I can answer them. Hello. So if you have question, I'm assuming someone is typing. So if you have your question, you can drop your question. Okay, in the light of the question, this will be the end of today's session. So if you're interested in buying any of those properties, you can contact us through, you can check the link to send a message. Look at if you can drop a WhatsApp link message in the chat session for anybody I want to make inquiry to see if you want to start getting on these properties. Then, if you want to also have some questions personally, you can also reach out to the same number. So, you'll be getting the link here. Okay, great. Can we drop a number that people can reach out to? Rita, see if you can drop a number. Okay. Okay. Can someone drop a number? Let me drop my number because let's drop a number in the chat section that people can reach out to. Okay, just give me a minute. Send me. I'm going to send the number now. Sorry, not your number. Let me drop the number. Sorry, I didn't know who I was talking to. Okay, so I'm dropping a number now. Okay, so you can reach out to that number which you're looking at contacting to find out more information about any of the properties. So that's the end of today's training. So whoever needs the number can get it. Okay. Bye bye everyone. I feel okay.